So now let's look at a good example that was brought to us in one of the lecture slides. So last year, 1,200 US gallons of fuel were used to heat a commercial building. This year, there was a 14% increase. How much extra fuel was purchased? Okay, so we know that, you know, last year, let's call it year one, we used 1,200 gallons, however we want to write it. Um, and there was a increase. So first, you always write down what you know. Increased by 14%. So what you don't know, the extra fuel. That's what you want to solve. Okay, so there's multiple ways of doing this. I mean, of course, the easiest way that a lot of people will come to is know that since there is a 14% increase. So what did percent increase mean? So percent increase was, the increased amount over the original times 100%. So if you want to, write that again, but filling out, what you already know, you know that you don't know how much you increase by. You know the percent, but you don't know how much. So increase is what you're trying to find because that's the extra fuel you used. The original was 1,200 times 100%, and you came out with 14%. Now it's just a matter of isolating this right here. And we can do multiple things. Let's divide by 100% on both sides. So divide by 100%, divide by 100%. Gotta get rid of this and this. So you'll be left with, increase over 1,200 is equal to 0.14. Now let's multiply both sides by 1,200 to get rid of that 1,200 in the bottom. Whatever you do to one side, you always have to do to the other. So that cancels out and you're left with extra fuel. You got 168 gallons. So that's like the very arithmetic way of looking at it. But if you wanted to think about this, logically, you're like, here's what you would think. So you know that year two, you have 100% of last year at least. So if you were using 1,200 gallons this year, and you're using 1,200 gallons of last year, this year compared to last year would be 100% because you're using all of it. Now you're using an extra 14%. And this is just a way of just skipping the entire first step. You just want to look at the 14%. So 100% was 1,200 gallons. Well, 14%, how are we going to find that? 14% of 1,200, is just the same way as before, but just skipping all the, moving around and stuff, is 168 gallons. So this is 168. So now when you add these two, this is how much. So 114% of last year. So this is the total you're using this year. You're using the 100%, which is all of last year, so at least 1,200, and then an extra, tiny amount of 1,200, so an extra 168. And so you do 1,200 plus 168. So the total you're using this year is 3,300 gallons. And you can kind of check this by let's just kind of rewind here. It's kind of a slow method of doing it. Okay, so you wanted to see if this was correct. So you always check at the end if you have if you have time. This is just a quick way of doing it. So you wanted to check. So now let's just say you wanted to find percent increase. Well, you have your 168 This is how much it increased by relative to last year. Well, supposedly, this is how you check if it's right. So assuming it's correct. So 168 is how much we increased by. 1200 was last year. Times 100%. Punch that in your calculator. 68. 1200 times 100. You get 14%. So that's correct. And there's multiple ways of checking it, but you just kind of really isolate the things that you know. Well, after, of course, you read it for the first time, and then you just isolate what you really want. And when you look at it as percent, this is why percents are so powerful, because percents you can translate into different things, objects, money, percent of a population, percent of bacteria culture, whatever it is.